corrupt judge mocked and dismissed a biker's 14-year-old daughter during her testimony about being assaulted. He called her a biker brat looking for attention. The next morning, 100 Hells Angels filled every seat in his courtroom. What happened next ended his career. Judge Howard Blackwell had been on the bench for 12 years. He was 58 years old, arrogant, and untouchable, or so he thought. He ran his courtroom like a kingdom, and anyone who challenged him learned quickly who had the power. Sophie Chen was 14 years old. Her father, Dragon, was a respected member of the Devil's Disciples MC. Sophie was a smart, honor roll student, played violin, and dreamed of becoming a lawyer. She was also terrified as she walked into Judge Blackwell's courtroom on a Monday morning. The case was simple. Derek Morrison, 19 years old, son of the police chief, had assaulted Sophie at a house party. He'd cornered her in a bedroom, tried to force himself on her, and only stopped when she kicked him and ran. Sophie had bruises, torn clothing, and text messages from Derek admitting what he did. But Derek's father had influence. Chief Morrison played golf with Judge Blackwell every Thursday. They were old friends who protected each other's interests. This trial was supposed to be a formality, a slap on the wrist for Derek, dismissed charges, sealed records. Sophie took the stand wearing her school uniform, her hands shaking. Dragon sat in the gallery, trying to stay calm. 3 other club members sat with him for support. The prosecutor asked Sophie to describe what happened that night. "I was at a birthday party," Sophie began, her voice quiet. "Derek offered to show me where the bathroom was upstairs, but he took me to a bedroom instead and locked the door." "And what happened in that bedroom?" the prosecutor asked gently. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. "He pushed me onto the bed, started pulling at my clothes. I said no multiple times. I tried to push him away, but he was too strong." "Objection," Derek's lawyer interrupted. "The defendant was intoxicated. He doesn't recall these alleged events?" Judge Blackwell nodded. "Sustained." "Miss Chen, are you certain about your memory of that evening?" "Yes, Your Honor," Sophie said firmly. "I remember everything. He smelled like beer and cologne. He told me I should be grateful that someone like him was interested in a biker's daughter." Judge Blackwell leaned back in his chair with a smirk. "A biker's daughter, I see. And did you perhaps provoke this situation? Girls your age often dress inappropriately at parties." The prosecutor stood immediately. "Your Honor, that's completely inappropriate. The victim's clothing is not on trial here. I'll decide what's appropriate in my courtroom," Blackwell snapped. He looked at Sophie with open contempt. "Young lady, I've seen many cases like this. Teenage girls seek attention by making false accusations." Dragon started to stand. His fellow club members pulled him back down. "Not yet, not here." Sophie's voice shook, but she continued. "Your Honor, I have text messages where Derek admits what he did. I have medical records showing bruises. I have—" Judge Blackwell waved his hand dismissively. "Text messages can be faked. Bruises can come from anywhere. What I see is a girl from a criminal family trying to ruin the reputation of a police chief's son." "Objection," the prosecutor yelled. "This is prejudicial and completely out of line." "Overruled," Blackwell said. "I'm exercising my judgment about the credibility of witnesses." He looked directly at Sophie. "Miss Chen, your father is a member of a criminal motorcycle gang, correct?" "My father is a member of a motorcycle club," Sophie said quietly. "And what does that have to do with Derek assaulting me?" Judge Blackwell actually laughed. "Everything, young lady. It tells me you come from a world where lying and criminality are normal, where making up stories is probably a family tradition." Sophie started crying. Dragon stood up, his face dark with rage. "You can't talk to my daughter like that. Sit down, Mr. Chen, or I'll hold you in contempt," Blackwell warned. "In fact, I'm dismissing this case right now. Insufficient evidence and unreliable testimony from a witness with questionable background." The gavel came down. Case dismissed. Derek Morrison walked free, smirking at Sophie as he left. Chief Morrison shook Judge Blackwell's hand. "Thanks, Howard. I owe you one." Sophie collapsed in the hallway, sobbing. Dragon held his daughter while she fell apart. The prosecutor, a woman named Jennifer Walsh, knelt beside them. "I'm so sorry. That was the most unprofessional, biased display I've ever witnessed from a judge." "Can we appeal?" Dragon asked, his voice dangerous. "We can try," Walsh admitted. "But Blackwell has friends in high places. It's his word against ours about what happened in that courtroom." Dragon made a phone call, then another, and another. Within 2 hours, every Hells Angels chapter within 300 miles knew what happened. A judge had mocked a 14-year-old girl, dismissed her assault case, and insulted her father's club. The message spread like wildfire.
If you believe bikers are good people, Subscribe to this channel and show us your support.
Judge Blackwell had a full docket Tuesday morning. Routine cases, nothing special. He walked into his courtroom at 8:55 a.m., coffee in hand, already thinking about his golf game that afternoon. Then he saw them. Every single seat in the gallery was filled with bikers. 100 men and women wearing Hell's Angels colors sat in perfect silence. More stood along the walls. They didn't speak, didn't move, just watched him with cold, steady eyes. Dragon sat in the front row, Sophie beside him. She wore her school uniform again. This time she wasn't crying. She was surrounded by 100 protectors who'd taken the morning off work to be there. "What is this?" Blackwell demanded, his voice cracking. Reaper, president of the main chapter, stood up slowly. "We're citizens exercising our right to observe court proceedings, Your Honor. Is there a law against that?" "I won't have my courtroom intimidated," Blackwell said. "Then don't intimidate 14-year-old girls," Reaper replied calmly. "We're just here to watch justice, or whatever you call what you do here." Blackwell's face turned red. "Bailiff, clear this courtroom." The bailiff, a former Marine named Rodriguez, didn't move. "Sir, they're not breaking any laws. They have a right to be here." Judge Blackwell looked around frantically. 100 bikers stared back. The message was clear without a word being spoken. "We know what you did. We're watching you now. Every case, every decision, every moment. I'm calling for a recess," Blackwell announced, fleeing to his chambers. In his office, he made frantic calls to Chief Morrison, to the court administrator, to his lawyer. Everyone gave him the same answer. The bikers weren't breaking any laws. The bikers stayed all day, through every case, taking notes, recording proceedings where allowed, watching every word Judge Blackwell said. He couldn't dismiss another case unfairly, couldn't mock another witness, couldn't exercise his typical bias. Not with 100 witnesses watching his every move. Sophie's case was mentioned in the morning news. A legal reporter named Tom Winters had been in the courtroom Monday and heard everything. His article titled, "Judge Mocks Assault Victim Dismisses Case Against Police Chief's Son," went viral by Tuesday afternoon. The State Judicial Commission received 4,000 complaints within 48 hours. The recording of Monday's proceedings was reviewed. Judge Blackwell's comments about Sophie were even worse on tape than people remembered. His dismissive laugh, his prejudiced remarks about bikers, his clear bias in favor of his friend's son. Wednesday morning, 100 bikers returned to the courtroom. Thursday, 150 showed up. By Friday, Judge Blackwell's courtroom was the most watched in the state. Every decision scrutinized. Every word is documented. The Judicial Commission opened a formal investigation. They discovered Judge Blackwell had a pattern. 12 cases in the past 3 years where he'd shown clear bias. 8 involved children of wealthy or powerful friends receiving lenient treatment. 4 involved dismissing charges against people he knew personally. Sophie's case was reopened under a new judge. Judge Maria Santos was known for her fairness and zero tolerance for bias. She reviewed the evidence, text messages, medical records, witness statements. Derek Morrison was recharged with sexual assault. This time, Sophie testified in a courtroom where she was believed, where her father's club affiliation didn't matter, where justice actually meant something. Derek was convicted and sentenced to 3 years in juvenile detention with adult supervision. Chief Morrison tried to intervene. He called in favors, threatened people, used every connection he had. The bikers attended every single hearing, every motion, every proceeding. Their silent presence made sure nobody could sweep this case under the rug again.
I'm here just because of bikers. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel.
Judge Blackwell resigned 2 months later, one day before the Judicial Commission would have removed him. He lost his pension, his law license, and his reputation. His friendship with Chief Morrison ended when Morrison blamed him for not handling the bikers better. Derek Morrison's conviction was upheld on appeal. He served his full sentence. Chief Morrison retired early, his reputation destroyed by his attempt to protect his criminal son. Sophie graduated high school with honors. She got accepted to law school with a full scholarship from the Hell's Angels Legal Defense Fund. She wants to be a prosecutor, helping other victims who aren't believed. The Devil's Disciples MC and the Hell's Angels formed a lasting alliance after that week. They started a program called Courtroom Watch, where bikers attend trials involving assault victims. Their presence ensures judges remember that justice should be blind, not biased. Dragon keeps a photograph from that Tuesday morning. 100 bikers sitting silently in Judge Blackwell's courtroom, watching a corrupt judge realize he'd finally gone too far. That's the day my daughter learned she's never alone, Dragon says. That's the day 100 angels showed up wearing leather. Sophie speaks at events now, telling her story. She talks about the judge who mocked her and the bikers who defended her. She always ends with the same message. Justice failed me once, but my family, my real family, made sure it succeeded the second time. Judge Blackwell lives in another state now, disgraced, alone, remembered only for the case where he laughed at a 14-year-old girl and 100 bikers made sure he paid for it. Sophie Chen is in her second year of law school, top of her class. When she graduates, 100 bikers will attend her graduation. Not because they have to, because family shows up. The courtroom where it all happened has a new judge now. Fair, honest, careful. Every judge in the state knows what happens when you mock the wrong victim, when you let bias override justice, when you forget that 100 bikers can fit in a courtroom gallery, and they will sit there day after day, making sure you remember what you're supposed to be, a servant of justice, not a corrupt friend protecting other corrupt friends. Sometimes the most dangerous people in society are the ones who make sure the system works the way it's supposed to. Sometimes angels wear leather and sit silently in courtrooms. Sometimes justice needs 100 witnesses to remember what it's supposed to look like. And sometimes a 14-year-old girl learns that family isn't just blood. The family is 100 bikers who show up when you need them most.
If you believe bikers are good people, subscribe to this channel and show us your support.